and you don't have any else to trade, right? All of them.
See the woman haggling with the man in the bejeweled vest? Her name is Chloe, and she's got a job at the Starbucks at the main Olympics press center in Paris. And the thing that she and those around her are addicted to these days isn't the taste of lightly burnt coffee. It's high-octane pin trading.
I work at the coffee shop in this. So I see a lot of people, a lot of press agency, and they just give me the pins. I started like this, like they give me 1 or 2 pins. And then they told me, you will trade, you will have some people who will give it for free, and you will do a very big collection. And then it started like this, and the next day I have 5 more, the next day 10 more. It was like very exciting.
Yeah, she's an official pinhead now, and she's not alone.
2016, Rio? Oh.
Tokyo, and this one in Paris.
Paris, yeah, and this one is Tokyo.
As we all know, many of the world's finest athletes compete against their brethren and their sistren in a quest to obtain precious Olympic medals of gold, silver, or bronze. But for the rest of us, to whom a 3-day streak on the Peloton is good enough for the history books, the best way to obtain a shiny symbol of some Games Olympiad is to engage in an Olympic pin trade with a fellow Hellraiser. Who knows? Steph Curry might give you one, but you're probably not going to run into him waiting for your chai tea latte. But you might have some luck on the street with that Olympic superfan that spent 10 grand to attend the games that we just told you about here on your daily news refresh. Please subscribe.
And I also it's the most beautiful pin that I received during all of the Olympic Games. I think I'm gonna buy a nice box to keep them from the heat, from the temperature, from the humidified air. So just protect them like my baby.
That's a volunteer at the Paris Games, and yeah, some collectors protect and cherish these things as though they were a human infant. Pins, of course, require less feeding and care. But just as babies need to acquaint themselves with a culture that's been up and running since a little while before they were born, so must pin traders. After all, Olympic pins are believed to date all the way back to 1896 Athens. And the International Association of Olympic Collectors notes these things have become tokens of goodwill exchanged between athletes, officials, volunteers, members of the media, and spectators. And if you think it's a bit much that there's an entire organization with a 7-member executive board and committee that counts among its business cataloging North Korea's lapel decorations, they're not alone. The Olympin Collectors Club, for instance, has dedicated itself to promoting the Olympic pin trade since 1982. And if you're a member, you get a quarterly newsletter containing facts about pins. And guess what? A pin. Very on brand. Their website offers up this entire old guide to pin collecting from the 1996 games in Atlanta, which decodes lingo like pinhead. Yeah, that's what they're officially called, in spite of the Urban Dictionary definition, and other Urban Dictionary entries that are not as wholesome. This guide breaks down the types of pins that are actually collectible, like the souvenir pins often issued by a game's organizing committee, mascot pins, sponsor pins, sport pins, or media organization pins. Your news refresh does not have an official Olympic pin, but we do have a subscribe button. If you're worried about the veracity of your pin, Olympin has an entire authentication project with a 5-level rating system to let you know that this Reese's Cup is a legitimately issued memento of the 2024 games, and that this purported 2014 Sochi Games pin from the NBC camera crew, camera operator Mickey Mouse, is not legitimate. Over the years, the good people of Coca-Cola have stationed official Olympic pin trading centers in and around the games. And in case this video is moving you to want to swap studs over sugary soda, but you're afraid you don't quite know how and your imposter syndrome might get the best of you, don't worry. These groups also offer up entire guides to pin trading etiquette, noting that collectors should stay honest, never show your enthusiasm, as if you really want a pin you might be disadvantaged, and in a piece of good universal advice, request permission to look at someone's pins.
And this is for you. And thank you so much.
Over in Paris, it's hard to curb the enthusiasm of our fair barista here, who told the Associated Press why she's so enamored with the enamel.
I don't think I will have another Olympic Games inside my city, or, you know, the last one were 100 years ago. So I don't think I have the opportunity to be here in 100 years. So maybe it's just one time. And that's why it became so important, because there are pieces of memories that I can keep for the rest of my life.
The man she's trading with is a pinhead named Douglas, who's been pricking his hands in the pin trade for damn near 40 years.
Yeah, so I started in 1984. I was a medical volunteer. I worked at the UCLA Village. And so we had this medical golf cart, and we would give athletes rides up the hill, and they would give me their pins. And I put them on my uniform, and after I had a few, people asked me if I wanted to trade them. And so I started trading the pins, and by the end of the Olympics, I was hooked. and I've been doing it ever since.
This pin trade, of course, helps facilitate community and conversation among locals, tourists, and people associated with the games, like the guy looking to dump surplus goods this volunteer interacted with.
He also gave me one from Tokyo Olympic Games 2020 because back to that time there's not that much tourist and audience because of the situation of COVID. So he bought a lot and nobody to give.
This year in Paris, some of the hottest, most sought-after pins are custom designs for Simone Biles, and this one of Snoop Dogg blowing out some dank Olympic torch, so to speak. It's hard to say whether these guys will have a bit more staying cultural cachet than, say, those of 2002 Salt Lake Olympics CEO Mitt Romney. But in case you're someone who digs collecting odd objects of desire, why not subscribe to @TheNewsRefresh on YouTube? We pass out new and interesting weird news stories like these each and every day, like this recent one that explains why the Olympic mascot this year is a hat. My name is Greg Ott, and leave us a comment to let us know what you think of this video. In this very old short about a lawn care employee using a weed whacker to go after a guy who was trying to steal his car, Ghostbomb L8034 just wrote, "I hate when news take all the raw videos and you cannot find then the news chop and censor it. I seen raw video, but I cannot find it." Sorry.